Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter board game review. Today's game up on the table is Subterra. Subterra is made by Inside the Box Board Games, and it's a 1 to 6 player game, about 60 minutes long, and it's a light to medium strategy style game. Now it's fully cooperative, which means you can play by yourself or up to 5 friends, and it's a survival horror game where a bunch of you guys fall into a hole, and you're a team of adventurers, and you're trying to escape this huge cave labyrinth. You're placing tiles and moving along the cave, and after about 60 tiles, there's 6 left, and among those 6, there's the exit tile. Now, if you all get knocked out along the way, you lose. But however, whoever escapes the cave together, or a couple of you, those guys win. Now, that's up to you. Do you spread out, or do you stick together? Well, let's go ahead and check out the game. Alright guys, so this is what Subterra looks like set up. You've got your 66 cavern tiles and your cavern markers along with health tokens. You've got action tiles and reminder tiles, including the first player marker, and 8 different colored player boards along with 8 different colored player meeples. Included are also dice, terror markers, or terror icons, as well as the Subterra cards. Now each player will select one of the 8, and let's say if a 4-player game, we'll just select those 4, and remove the other 4 boards along with the other 4 characters, and go ahead and place these guys on each player board. The last thing you do for setup is you take the starting location and place it right in the middle of the board. Alright guys, on a side note, remember when picking characters, they all do different things and some have different health point totals. For instance, we have the diver here. The diver's pretty cool. He's got 3 health points and he's able to get through Waterness Cavern territories a lot easier than other people. As well as here we have the scout. The scout also has 3 health, but this scout is able to avoid all the terrors, all the monsters. They ignore her. They can't even hurt her when she's on the same space as them. So she's basically like the rogue of the game. We have here the bodyguard. Now the bodyguard has a ton of health. And the cool thing about him is whenever a terror is right next to him in another tile, he can actually exterminate that terror and save the entire group. So he's a pretty good one to have. Alright guys, so now back to the game. Now, we have a couple actions from each of our players here that they can perform. The first being reveal. It being the engineer's turn means he's going to get 2 actions. So his first action is going to be reveal something on the board, which means he doesn't actually move in there, but he gets to see what it is. And that could be good, especially if that's a hazard tile, which this one happens to not be. Another action he can do is move. Moving is simply moving from one space to another already revealed space. Afterwards, it being 2 actions for him, he can only take 2, just like anybody else, so it is now the climber's turn. So the climber is going to go ahead and explore. Exploring is similar to revealing, but you also get to move into that space for free. It's a little more risky though, because you don't know what actually could be there, and that could cause you to die or something just as bad happen. Next thing she's going to do is, once again, explore, and so she does so. And then it goes to the rogue's turn. Now, the rogue can choose to sprint using 2 action points, and that would get her 3 spaces, but there's not 3 spaces on the board, only 2. So she could choose to just move 2 spaces. And finally, you've got the diver. And the diver is going to go ahead and choose to reveal, and then move as well. After every single player's turn has been completed, a Subterra card is drawn, and the hazard is revealed. Now, this is a gas card, and it says each caver on a gas tile loses 2 health. And until the next hazard phase, cavers that entered gas tiles also lose 2 health. Now, as we notice here, there are no gas tiles on the board. However, if a gas tile were to ever be drawn or laid, then this little token is going to be here to represent the fact that that gas tile is in effect. So if a player were to walk into this gas tile here, that player would lose 2 health, even though it had not been revealed until the next card has been drawn. Now, Subterra has many different hazard spaces. These are pretty much all of them currently, but there may be more later. First of all, we have the ledge, which if you get to this space and you choose to jump down, you can't go back up. And we also have the slide. Once you get on this space, you're forced to go down and you can't come back. We have the rocks, or the rock slide, which on the occasion if you land in that space, you'll have to roll the die, and if it's a 5 or a 4, you get rocked on, and you take a bunch of damage. And also there are cards in the deck, whenever they're drawn, let's go ahead and try and find one, there's a cave-in. That means that even though this tile may have not been caved in the first time, it has a chance to get caved in once again. We also have the gas tile, which we had seen previously, the terror tile, which means that maybe an abomination or a monster might spawn and start chasing you, the water tile, which means that you could drown, and the squeeze or crawl space, which means you have to spend 2 action points to get through here. The final and last location, and the most important, is this one over here. This is the exit token, and once you get to this space, in the last 6 tiles, you can escape to win. And moving on to the game, we have a board that's even more full, and players are continuing to take their turns. taking their sprint actions and their reveal and place actions. And once every player once again has had their turn, then a card is drawn. And once again, here are the cards. There's just a couple of examples. The horror card being right here. If this card were to be drawn, then we will take a horror marker and place it on the closest horror space where there's a player. And if there's ever a horror on a player's space, that player instantly dies. Also, other cards are, such as the flood card. If that were to be drawn, then you would take a flood token and you would place it on every single flooded tile. If players are in there, there's a possibility for them to take damage, as well as it's going to be more difficult for them to get across that tile. It might take 2 actions. Another card over here we have is the Cave-In, and the Cave-In simply makes you roll a die for every single cave tile that has not a rubble marker on it, and there are 1, 2, 3 of them here. So we'd roll over here, which is a 5 or a 2. Nope. A 4 or a 2, and that happens, so this would fall. And if there was a caver here, they would take damage based on the card. And finally over here is a 5 or a 4, and that's a 1, so no caving would happen there. And that's how that would work. Now there are a couple other cards as well, but I'll save those as a surprise. After every player has performed their turn and their actions, the action card had been drawn, then there's the terror phase. The terror phase is very simple. If there's a terror on the board, it moves 1 space closer to the closest player. And if a terror card had been drawn on that same turn, terrors will move an additional 1 to 2 spaces depending on the card. Now, if a terror is ever 7 spaces away from another player, then that terror is removed from the board. Otherwise, they continue on the board until all players have been knocked out. The game continues until all players have reached the exit on the last 7 or 6 tiles, or if all the players have been knocked out. Any players that have survived and escaped will win, and any players who don't will lose. And that's basically how you play Subterra. Now, let's go ahead and see what I think of it. So Subterra is a fast and fun game. However, it's very difficult. In fact, we've played from 1 to 6 players, and in every single game, we've lost. I'd love to win, but I think I do enjoy the fact, like Ghost Stories, that this game has that competitive edge, and every single time you're so close to the exit, and yet you just don't make it. Even both of our live playtests, we just didn't get anywhere near it. Now, I didn't mention everything in the game. There's a bunch of components that are like action tiles and other little things in the game that you guys kind of like want to find out for yourself. So I'll give you a little bit of secret mystery for the game. But they're all fun, they all work, and all the components are pretty cool. The quality of the components, however, this is a Kickstarter game, so I don't know exactly what it's going to be like later, but in my knowledge, it's going to be amazing. In fact, the components for just the prototype that I have here is fairly good, and I do enjoy what I have to play with here, and I'm going to be keeping it for a long time until I actually get the copy that I'm probably going to be backing fairly soon. Now, as far as luck goes, the game has a lot of it. You don't know what cards you're going to get. If you draw a card that's a rubble card and everybody's on a rubble space, you're all dead, game over. Same thing as if you're in a water space, or if you happen to be on a terror space when you draw a terror card. As well as whenever you go into a new tile, you might actually have to deal with, you know, basically a terror being there, and you just happen to stand in that spot, or you're now falling down a slide and you can't escape and you can't come back to visit your friends. I've been trapped so many times in this game, it's insane. Now, the complexity of the game has a kind of it's different because sometimes it's extremely complex as far as if you're spreading your characters out and doing whatever you want. So if you're a complex gamer, go for that and do whatever you want in the game, and then come back and try and figure out the best route to make it to your friends. Because I think spreading out is going to make it more likely to succeed in the game. Where sticking together, you have a higher chance of dying, but you're also more likely to you know, make decisions that can work to each other's advantage. Overall, Subterra is an excellent game, and obviously many people are very interested in it because this game is funded way over and beyond all expectations. So definitely check out the Kickstarter, and that's pretty much what I think about Subterra. This has been another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter board game review. If you like this video, go ahead and check out the rest of our videos here at our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, as well as checking out our website, unfilteredgamer.com. We do tons of blog reviews and giveaways on that site, so if you like that, I suggest you check it out. Also, the Kickstarter for Subterra is in the description below. Don't forget to visit our sponsors, everythingboardgames.com, as well as thegiveawaygeek.com. Great sites, great blog posts, and even more giveaways than even my site. Well, thank you guys for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.